Kansas was tough because Kansas was very close to home. It was 3-4 hours away, just like Illinois. Kansas was very good in basketball. It's obviously the mecca of basketball. Mm-hmm. It was very hard not to pick Kansas. And so here's the ultimate story of how I picked Florida. No one knew, but I silently committed to Florida as a sophomore.
How do you do that?
It exists, but it doesn't exist, right? So I literally, my parents don't know. I literally, after, like, I go through visits and I take unofficial visits and I'm talking, this is when I'm a sophomore. I'm talking to all the coaches and they're all kind of like giving me like guarantees and promises. I'm like, I don't like that. Like, I've seen that happen to my older brother, mm-hmm. and he like fought and clawed, like, to play, to compete, like to get an opportunity. And I'm like, I don't want that, right? I don't lie to me, like shoot me straight. And Coach Donovan was like the only coach who said, Brad, I'm not guaranteeing you anything. I'm not going to guarantee you're going to start. I'm not guaranteeing you playing time. I'm not guaranteeing you're going to score a lot. He said, but one thing I will promise you is that you will get better every day and you will be a man by the time you leave here. Mm-hmm. And I immediately, as a kid, I said, no, I want to go play for him, right? And I was a sophomore. So I literally went in my room one night, grabbed my phone, called Coach Donovan. I said, Coach, I want to come to Florida. He was like, wait, you want to commit to Florida? I said, I want to commit to Florida. He's like, are your parents there? I said, no, this is me talking to you. I want to come to Florida. He's like, I appreciate that, Brad, but I also want you to like talk to your parents about it and make sure, you know, you're 100%. I said, Coach, I'm 100%. He was like, all right, this is what we'll do. He says, I know you'll come here. He said, when you feel like you'll come here, you'll sign the papers, right? Sign your letter of intent, letting me know that you come here, right? And so fast forward, I go through visits, like I go to visits to other schools. Like I'm still entertaining other schools, still trying to figure out the process. Mm-hmm. But in my heart, I'm like, I know I'm going to Florida. Like I'm not enjoying this. Like I know I'm going to Florida. Like, and sure enough, as a junior, when I turned to junior, I said, no, I'm coming out. I'm committing. So mm-hmm. I verbally came out and openly committed. But the day I had to sign a letter of intent was one of the hardest days ever in my life. So that morning, well, the morning before, mind you, I talked to my parents the night before and I told them, my mom asked, she said, where are you going to school? She wanted me to go to Kansas. And in her deepest hearts of hearts, she knew I was going to Kansas, right? Mm-hmm. There was no like question about it. So the night before, like I can just like see the pain in her eyes if I told her no. I said, yeah, I'm going to Kansas. I told my mom the night before, I'm going to Kansas. So the next day at school, I'm walking around. I'm nervous as I don't know what, because I'm like, I just messed up in the biggest way. Like my mom for sure. And she asked me that morning before I left where I'm going. And I said Kansas again. So I'm like, I just doubled down on this Kansas thing. So fast forward, I'm going through school. I'm just nervous. I'm like, I can't stomach this. So we have our commitment. We have our signings. So I have my 5 schools. I have all my hats lined up, and I throw away the Ohio State, throw away Illinois. People like gasp when I threw away the Duke hat, and it was down to Florida and Kansas. And so I picked them both up. I looked at my mom, who was sitting front row. I looked right at her, and I like tossed the Kansas hat, and I put on the Florida hat. My mom didn't clap. She stood up and walked straight out the door. When I say that was probably one of the most crazy, heartbreaking